Welcome, everyone, to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist. And on today's show, special insurance for the special things you own. Part 5 of our series on insurance protection and defensive planning with property casualty specialist Beth Glowacz. I love your last name, Glowacz. You know,
Yes.
it's just like Oz.
Right, the Wizard of Oz.
Are you the wizardess
I'm the
of
wizard,
Oz?
yes.
Okay. Well, let's talk about, first of all, we're recording. I live in Scottsdale. You should see some of the neighborhoods in here. I mean, talk about recreational vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, RVs, the little things for each kid's got his own 4x4.
Right,
you know, I mean,
right.
that's serious money. Oh, and they got a trailer to pull it.
Right.
Right. I mean, this is extra money for the things you want to do, right?
It
I mean,
is.
This is kind of stuff. Let's talk first of all, the normal recreational vehicle. You know, let's say I bought an RV, couple $100,000. You know, I got it on the bank, right? I'm paying on the bank.
Right.
Big money on insurance on this? Liability? I mean, you know, I don't know how many people have ever driven a big RV before.
Right.
So I'm not really sure how skilled they are.
Right. It can be pricey, or it could not be pricey. Just depends on what you're covering. On the ones you drive, that has to be a separate policy.
From your auto.
From your
completely
auto.
separate.
Completely separate if you drive it.
All right, so I own it, I'm driving it,
Right.
and I got to get that priced.
Right.
So
So like we just bought a fifth wheel
you did.
back in February, and we can actually add that onto our auto policy because it's behind the vehicle. It's attached to our vehicle.
Okay, so that's different than a standalone RV.
Yes.
Okay, so when people are considering it, a lot of people think of, I'm going to buy an RV, they think of the collateral cost. Well, what's the gas going to be like?
Right.
What's the insurance going to be like, right?
Right.
You know, how much maintenance? You know, they look at this. Where am I going to park that thing if I buy it, right?
Yeah.
So they go through all these things. So in your case, you decided a fifth wheel, and that was okay because that still looks like a standard part of your policy.
It is attached to our auto policy.
Okay. So, but if that would have been an RV, you'd have had to
We'd
get a
had
separate.
to get a separate policy
Okay.
for it.
All right, when I'm looking at, again, I'm just trying to think. I've never driven an RV. I think, you know, hopping in with my wife and going on some of the tour of the country would be kind of
Right.
cool.
Exactly.
But neither one of us have driven anything really long before, right? So I'm
Right.
just thinking, well, you know, do I know what I'm doing?
It's scary.
You know, it's kind of scary,
It
right?
is kind of scary.
And
It's a big vehicle.
and I saw the wind blowing the RV side to side in the lane. I mean, that kind of is disturbing if you
Yeah.
don't know what you're doing. But if you've ever been in them, they're so cool,
They
and you're on the
are.
trip. And who wants to camp? I don't.
Exactly.
Right? You know, so
Hotel on wheels.
yeah, it is, and that's why I kind of see the attraction. And I see many seniors, baby boomers now, hitting the road, and they're leasing them too to see if hey, I'm going to lease it first on this trip. See if I like it enough to buy it. So let's say I got my RV. I'm not doing a fifth wheel. I'm buying a separate RV. And you've seen how luxurious they can be.
Right.
So when we got to talk about the last one I saw, my friend, he bought a $250,000 RV. Now, I'm sorry, but that insurance must be colossal.
It's a house on wheels.
So
Yeah.
you're talking serious money.
Well, I wouldn't. It's hard for me to tell you an
Sure.
exact price, but we did have a customer. He had one of those driving ones, and his was about $1,200 a year.
Well, that's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Oh, no, that was pretty good. Actually, I'm surprised. Then, not so much here in Arizona, although we do have our lakes and occasional stream that doesn't dry up during the summer, since we are generally broadcasting from the surface of the sun here.
Right.
But people have watercraft, right? In Texas, I'm sure you guys have lakes and so
We do.
forth. And,
Lakes.
and you're right, the Gulf of Mexico is not very
Exactly.
far. So we have watercraft. And is that expensive to cover my boat?
Boats are pretty inexpensive.
They are.
They
Now,
are.
I'm sorry, you
and a
surprised
lot of
me.
people don't think they need that insurance.
You have people that are floating
That
around
have
there.
boats that, I don't need that,
But if they do something to somebody else, right?
Right.
That's
then
a
they're on
major
the hook
problem.
For it, yes.
Okay, so you're just disturbing. I'm thinking about the place we go to Florida every year, and there's a ton of boats in that harbor, and I'm thinking, how many of those guys are out there floating around there that could take
Exactly.
me out, right?
Right.
Wow. So they're completely, that's something you need to protect. And how expensive? You said it isn't that.
It's inexpensive.
So why then why wouldn't you cover it?
It's just another thing
Yeah.
that, there's a lot of people that hate insurance.
Well, I don't want
They
to.
think it's a scam and they don't need it, but yet when they file a claim, then they're happy that they have it.
Right. Well, I would have to say that nobody likes paying for it. I don't like it
Right.
either. But this is just part of your life. This is part of living,
Right.
and you're trying to indemnify yourself. We're in a very litigious society. I mean, people are going to come after you. They find out you got money,
Right.
it's going to be a war zone.
Yes.
So you got to really watch what you're doing. Okay. Hey, watercraft. So I have watercrafts. What about my little RV? Like my kids got 4x4s and
yep.
ATVs.
You can
Pretty
also,
cheap?
Yeah.
Trailers to carry it, pretty cheap?
Also, usually the trailer's included, like on the boat, all the trailer, the ATVs, they'll ask you if there's a trailer involved. You add it on, it's very inexpensive.
Okay, so there's good coverage to be had.
Yes.
Not pricey, in the game. Now you can enjoy your ATV.
And not have to worry about it.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the name of my game.
That's why you have it.
Now I want to talk to you about something. I don't know why this should even be a thought, but I debate this with so many of my clients over the last 34 years. It's pathetic. Umbrella policies. I have people that have money, real money. They have their kid driving some Lexus. He's driving like a maniac at 16, right?
Right.
His parents are trying to calm him down. They try to put a governor in there. Now they put GPS. I'm thinking about this case. GPS. And I'm trying to tell him, you need to get an umbrella policy. Now, how do you talk to your clients about what is an umbrella policy and why should I buy one?
An umbrella policy comes into play after your limits on your vehicles are have maxed out. So it's an excess liability. So say you're driving a Lexus and you have low limits because you don't like to pay the full for higher ones. And it's a $50,000, $100,000 policy, and the wreck was like $150,000. So you've exceeded your limit, and so that's when the umbrella would come into play.
If it was just my fault and I hurt nobody else, or is that somebody else's?
If it comes into play after your limits on your coverages are extinguished, then the umbrella comes into play.
Okay. I'm thinking one of the big reasons I always thought about umbrellas were such an important thing was to defend you screwing up with somebody else. You're the one that hit the guy. You did the damage. He finds out you got $1 million 401k.
Right.
So I noticed, and stop me if I'm right, because this is I'm a little cloudy on this one. The first couple million, 1 and 2 million PUP policies, these umbrella policies, there's no real financial underwriting for that. That's pretty much goes through $1 million, 2 million.
Yes. You have to have higher limits now to have an umbrella. Which means like $250,000, $500, or either $500 combined single limit.
Okay, but when I start stepping it up from 3, 4, 5 million,
it has to go into underwriting.
So there's financial justification now. I got to justify this, right? Now, on your clients that are wealthy, have money, do you see them adopting this procedure by taking? I mean, you're not. I think my $1 million PUP when I first started, and it started with my million, I think it was like $250.
Yeah,
it's nothing.
Nothing.
So if I'm at $5 million, I'm looking at maybe $1.50.
Maybe, yeah.
Why am I not doing this?
Again,
if I have money,
if you have it, you should. You should. We recommend it, but we can't twist their arm until they do it.
Well, I'm thinking it's your recommendation for people who have money, things to really lose. And I would say the number one reason I went to an umbrella policy immediately was my first kid that started driving at 16.
Right.
Because I'm thinking, man, what if they want to come after me and my limits aren't enough?
Right.
They're going to come after my 401k. They're going to come after my other holdings, my portfolio. I mean, they could go in there and I have nothing.
Right.
So most of our clients that are watching today, if you have a significant portfolio, you need to look at this number and figure out, I would say for sure, because there's no other financial issues, 1, 2 million should be automatic. If you got money.
Yes.
You should just have it a PUP.
Yeah. If
you say, Steve, I got more than that, then you're going to have to financially, if I understood you correctly, you're going to have to financially justify it. And I say that should be pretty easy, a net worth statement, basic numbers. I think this is a very important thing for people who have something to really lose. And I would say teenagers are my number one impetus for doing it.
Exactly.
Now, do you have children, Beth?
Yes, we do.
Okay, when your kids were coming through, are they drivers?
All my kids are grown.
They're grown, but they were drivers at one time, right?
Yes.
And did they have accidents?
Yes.
Okay. So that way, and you had coverage.
Right.
And if you didn't have coverage, you might have been hurting.
Correct.
So I mean,
you have a lot to lose. You could lose a lot.
You could lose a lot
if you didn't have the backup policy.
And then those policies are there. Now, I asked you this earlier in the segment. I want to end with this. Is it easy to read these policies so I understand what covers and what isn't?
It's easy for me because I've been doing it a long time. Once you explain it on the declaration pages, it's pretty evident. It'll spill out exactly bodily injury, comprehensive, collision deductible.
Easy to read for the consumer.
It is.
Well, I'm glad to hear
If
that.
they look for it, they have to be able to look for it.
I'll be looking to you, Beth, to help point it out. How's that? Is that fair enough?
That's fair.
Well, listen, I want to thank my special guest, Beth Glowacz, and keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas you've heard on this show all this week, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game.